Hi, this is Greg with Stokes Ladders. Today we're going to cover safe use and responsible ownership of tripod orchard ladders. So as you see, we have a tripod orchard ladder set up here, and we have two different side views. On the left side of the ladder, there are safe use and storage and care instructions. There's a notice label that tells you the size, the rating, the height. On the right, you'll see some warning labels. We have all of our labels bilingual. There's also a warning label on the red step that says do not stand on or above this. Now, on the instruction side of the label, all you have to do is simply read down the list, and it tells you exactly what you can and cannot do with the ladder. One of the first things is the owner shall train whoever is using the ladder on the safe use of the orchard ladder. It's the responsibility of the owner or the employer to make sure that whoever is using their ladder knows how to safely do this. So if I have an orchard ladder and I'm showing someone how to use it, I'm going to stand it up and I'm going to read down the label with them in English or Spanish, whatever they prefer, both sides, so they understand everything they should and should not do with this ladder. Over on the right side are more of the warning labels of the ladder, not so much the instructions. One states that failure to read and follow instructions on this ladder may result in injury or death. The other one states that this is an aluminum ladder and it does conduct electricity, so don't use it near or against live power lines. The last warning on here says this is a special purpose ladder. This ladder is designed for use on ground or turf. Stability depends on slight penetration of ground or turf plus proper positioning. Do not use on hard surfaces without rubber feet and a third leg restraint installed. So one of the first steps to setting up your orchard ladders, make sure it's the right tool, right? You want to select a proper ladder for the proper job. And out here in the orchard, we want the orchard ladder. If I was working in my backyard around the pool, I would probably want a ladder with a hard surface kit. So one of the first steps is selecting the right tool. After that, you're going to inspect your tool to make sure it's safe and ready to perform its job. Once you've selected the proper ladder, the next thing you're going to do is a proper inspection. You want to inspect your ladders upon receipt and before each use. Now, if you have any questions on what you're inspecting for, right here on the instruction label, it tells you exactly what to do. Make sure all rivets and joints and nuts and bolts are tight, feet, steps, and rungs are secure. Okay? You can grab the steps, you can try to jiggle them. It's tight and secure. You can grab the ladder, you could try to twist it, it's nice and secure. Okay? Keep the ladder clean, free from grease, oil, mud, snow. Keep your shoes clean, leather soles never used. Make sure all rivets and joints are tight, nuts and bolts are tight, feet and steps and rungs secure. You're going to check for any missing rivets, any cracks, any broken steps, missing safety labels, bent third legs. You're going to bring it up and you're going to grab the third leg and you're going to try to bend it side to side, and you're going to make sure that it's stable. There's a little bit of flex in here, but if it's swinging all the way side to side, you know it's loose and it's not a safe ladder. If you find any damage to your ladder, it's really important to mark the damage and take it out of service. Maybe put a red ribbon around it, red paint, put a sign that says do not use, and put it somewhere where people aren't going to get on it and use a damaged ladder. Once we've ensured that we have a serviceable ladder, next comes proper setup. So the setup is one of the most important things for safe use of the ladder. Okay, so today we're in the orchard. We're gonna set up the ladder. We're actually gonna climb the ladder. We have a little bit of blight going in our pear trees that we're gonna cut. I'm just gonna go over how to properly set up and climb the ladder. And I wanted to actually do a demonstration of pruning off it because you'll see what I'm talking about when I'm discussing keeping your center of gravity centered on the ladder. So you set the ladder up. You don't want a side hill. You want it flat. If you want to get close to the tree, this is another advantage of our tube. It lets you get right close to the tree. So we've kind of cradled the tree here. That puts me right up where I need to cut, okay? You're gonna make sure your steps are level to the ground. If they're leaned forward or back, you could simply adjust your third leg to level the ladder to where you want. Once you've positioned your ladder, you want to make sure that the third leg is straight and away. You don't want it pulled out to one side because it'll make it easier to tip to the other. So make sure there's not a big flex in the ladder. Your tube is straight away from you. Steps are level. Get on the bottom step and give the ladder a little bounce, right? You remember I talked about this ladder needs to penetrate into the soil to keep that third leg from spinning out on you. And by giving a little bounce, we call it setting the ladder. We're setting the feet in the ground, okay? Now we're ready to climb. When you're climbing, you must always maintain at minimum 3 points of contact with the ladder. It is better to grab the side rails than the steps because the steps may have mud on them. So at least 2 hands and a foot as you climb, or as you move your hands, 2 hands and 1 foot. So you're never taking a hand and a foot off at the same time. You climb, move a hand, climb, move a hand. Now, you don't always have to go straight to the highest point of the ladder. You just need to go to where you're working, okay? But it's very important. If I'm trying to max my height on this ladder, I can come up to here. Now you'll notice I have 2 feet and a hand on the ladder. I have 3 points of contact. When you're on the safest, highest vertical standing level, your knees and your hips are also engaged with the top of the ladder, which kind of forces you into 3 points of contact. That's why it's important you never go above this, okay? Now, when you're climbing the ladder, if you look down, you'll notice you can make a triangle from the feet to the third leg and back to this foot. You want to keep your belt buckle centered in that triangle. What that means is your center of gravity is within the footprint of this tripod, and you're going to be safe and very stable. If you start overreaching, you could actually get your balance off and tip to one side or another. It's also really important that you never climb off the side of the ladder. You want to keep on the ladder. You don't want to step like onto the tree and be leaning over here. The branch could break, your balance is off. If you set this up next to a building, you don't want to step off the ladder onto the building without tying this off. You don't want to put side force on the ladder. Now I'm coming down. I have my pruning shears. I'm maintaining 3 points of contact, okay? I have my shears. I'm over here. I'm gonna make my cut. Now I have my knee. I have 2 feet and a knee in contact with this. That way, I'm not losing my balance. Unfortunately, it's been a bad blight here in Kelseyville this year for the pears. You're always facing the ladder when you're climbing and descending. You're never walking down it like a staircase. You're always facing it, always holding on. Now that we know how to use the ladder, I'm going to talk about what not to do on a ladder. You don't want to overload the ladder. There's a notice label on here that tells you what the weight rating of the ladder. If the ladder is rated at 300 pounds, that is user and equipment. So if you weigh 280 and you want to come pick 60 pounds of fruit on this ladder, you're overloading the ladder. You can't do that. That's not safe. You don't ever want to move the ladder while you're on it. If you've ever been out in an orchard and you've seen people have been doing this a long time, some of them from standing 10 feet up on here will jiggle the ladder while they're on it and literally walk it through the orchard. It puts way too much stress on the ladder. It's very unsafe. You don't want to do that either. Another thing that you don't really think about is you don't want to leave stuff up on the top of the ladder. Maybe you forget it's there and you go to move the ladder and it falls on your head. Or maybe you have a big pair of loppers that you like to hang here, right? As you're going up and doing your cutting work, and then you grab them for your heavy work. Never hang anything off the ladder, because if for some reason you do fall off the ladder, you don't want to be getting caught on anything on your way down. Never use the ladder around live electrical lines. Also, don't use the ladder if you tire easily or have some sort of back issue where your feet could give out, or while you're intoxicated, okay? This is a tool. You're on the job. You're in an elevated position. You need to be focused on safety. At the end of the day, when you're on this ladder, it's your job to use your common sense and be safe. We're all responsible for our own safety, and use it for what it is, which is a tool. Thank you for watching this video on safe ladder use and inspection. Please feel free to click the link below to a link for our actual official safety notes on orchard ladder use. Safe climbing.